Hey guys, this is Zach from Central Coast Window Cleaners and Hip Clips. I'm going to show you how to make something really cool out of the base of a hip clip. This is a hip clip magnet, and it's pretty obvious what it does. It does magnetic things. You can stick whatever you want that's steel on there. Anything you like that's steel. The reason you want this, for me at least, here's a good example. I like to clean out the tracks inside the houses, take a little vacuum. These solder brushes, acid brushes, they're real cheap and they're so light that, I mean, you can literally just throw it at it, and it's just the fastest way to hold them. When you put the backing piece like that, now you have it so it'll go onto your pants. If you have a belt on and stuff, this works really good. So now you're just able to hold this kind of small metal tool super quick. So I'll show you real quick what you're going to need. You're going to need a hip clip, obviously. Hope I get this stuff in frame. You're going to need a hip clip. You're going to need epoxy, plumber's epoxy putty. This is just one thing you could use. This one's really fast. It's about $4, but this cures up in about 20 minutes and gets to usable. And that's what's cool, is it happens really fast. If you want, I'm also going to heat shrink mine, and I'll show you the reason for that. This one here is actually heat shrinked. What I'm doing is I'm adding an extra layer of protection for the metal hitting it. Over time, the metal hitting the metal, which will eventually go through the plastic coating on this magnet, that starts to break down the magnet. We'll see over time if this is really needed, but you don't have to do it. If you want to do it, it's 3/4 inch heat shrink, and I'm going to show how to do that. And most of all, what you're going to need is this specific magnet. I'm going to show right there. You should be able to read the code is right there from K&J Magnetics. Let's take a look at these right now. These are about 14 bucks. They're not super cheap. They're super magnets though. So what you have here is a plastic coated magnet with 2 holes chamfered on both sides. I don't know how thick the plastic is on these. I might be totally wasting my time heat shrinking it, because I am going to try it like this, and you guys can if you want. But what we're going to do is we're going to put the epoxy into the hole that you'll have in the hip clip, let that cure up, and that allows us to screw it into the face. So let's give it a shot. Okay, here we go. First things first, you want to take out the pivot pin out of the hip clip. Take out the spring. Extra parts you can play around with, make yourself something. Now the face is something you don't need. So what we have here now, we have that hole. So you could get a big old long screw and screw down into this, but the problem is that screw is going to be coming out, and that will, when you go to wear it on your pants, that's not going to work. So you can fill this with epoxy. Obviously, you guys can use anything you want that's going to seal up and be hard. You could even take a little disc of wood, put glue around it, stick it in there, make sure it's flush. You'll be able to screw down into that. There's a bunch of different ways. I'm going to do it like this. Right now I'm going to sand the inside to get a little grip for the epoxy. Okay, so I'm sanding that hole just a little bit. You know, I didn't wrap this up tight enough. There we go. The ABS plastic on these hip clips is smooth and glossy. It's not a great surface for glues to grab, so you want to knock that down a little bit. That's pretty much all you need to do. I don't need to open this because I already have some open, so I'm going to put that aside. Making a mess out of my workspace here. I have some here already opened. Take a little razor blade, one of these little handy dandy razors. Now you don't want to cut off too little, but I'm going to say that looks like maybe 1/2 inch. That's probably actually a little too much. But I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch. I don't want to not have enough. This explains why I'm using the creepy doctor gloves. I'll probably actually take them off after this. This epoxy is really sticky. It really gets into your fingerprint, and it's a little bit difficult to get off, but you really have got to knead it good. Just pretend you're playing with Play-Doh. Twist it and turn it and get it kneaded up good. Take your time. Do, do, ba-doo, boo, boo. Play some elevator music right at this part. Do, do, do. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. Roll it up so it's smaller than the hole. Squish it down in there. Now you want to kind of control it. I want to end up with a nice looking little tool myself, so I don't want to have epoxy all over the place. So I'm going to kind of push it down in there, keep it in the hole. Doesn't matter if you don't get it absolutely flush, but it would be nice if you could get it real flush. Now right at this point, because I've already been practicing and playing with this, I'm going to try to see if I can actually do this. I didn't try this. That works pretty good. Shear off the top, kind of push it in there. Okay, now you don't got to be a total perfectionist about this. There you go, about 20 minutes. Okay, now I'm still letting this set, but I want to show you guys something that I tried because I'm still fiddling around with this. I set the screw in there and then I slowly turned it down into the epoxy. You know, in theory we're making a mold, and when the epoxy cures up, you'll always be able to unscrew it. Now the problem was the magnet was trying to pull the screw down in, so it might have distorted the hole. But to be honest with you, these screws are slightly short for this part on the top. So what were these? 3/4, I think, by 1/8 of an inch. You maybe could get a little bit longer one. Then you pre-drill the hole and you screw it down in there and you get a great grab. But I'm going to try this out. Hopefully this isn't going to mess this up. Get it out to that point. So we got the screw out. That's cool. Pretty cool. Now it actually kind of formed up in there into the chamfer. Now that we don't have the magnet messing with it, let's see how good our screw is. Pretty good. You don't need a tremendous grab on this thing. So we're going to place that on there. Now let me just show what's really cool. If you can see here on the hip clip, it's got these little stands for the axle, and this thing fits exactly between them. And it also hits this little lip, which is a gripper for the towel. It hits right on the bottom because this magnet has nice sharp edges. So, I mean, it just fits right on there. Super cool. If you could find black-headed screws, that would be sweet. Okay, so now screw your screw back in. It's going to want to like guide itself because of the force of the magnet. Everything's getting magnetized around me from playing with this magnet. Ah, sorry you guys might not be able to see this, but you get the gist. Now when you screw this in there, it is just epoxy, just barely go to tight. If you want to get it tighter, what you've got to do is pre-drill that hole with like a 3/32 screw, get a much longer screw, go down into that hole and it'll really grab. Now your other grab point is going to be this next screw. This is going to go right into the hip clip. I've got my drill gun. Be careful because the drill is going to want to get attracted to the magnet. Just barely get it set down in there. Don't finish that with the drill or you'll just tear the plastic apart. This is all about, it's on there slightly crooked. That's a bummer. Is it? Yeah, just slightly. So now, as far as tightening goes, just realize you're into plastic. We're not talking about, if it's firm at all, that's it. That's all you get. You know, this is plastic. You'll tear it apart if you try to guerrilla method. So there you go, right off the bat. I mean, it is finished. I kind of went to the next level with this extra layer of plastic. Do a little testing with that. I know it'll protect it more. Also what it does is it creates a slight boundary so that the magnet releases easier. Not much. This one has a slightly different sound, and I can feel that it's actually a little bit stronger, but that's okay. when you're out there using this in the field, you kind of pull it off. That's the way to go. You know, you don't want to go. That's where magnets have all their strength. So just to see, here's a big heavy piece of steel, and I don't want to let it slam there because that's when you'll start to damage the plastic, but I mean, it's on there good. Like I say, you can do a little bit better by using a longer screw, something that's not going to come all the way through, but that's going to go deeper into there. And different than what I did where I set the screw in while it was still curing. What I would do instead is I would set the magnet on there, use the tip of this and make an indicator point. You don't need to do it down here, but make an indicator point in the epoxy. Remove the magnet, let the epoxy cure, and then you know where to drill, pre-drill. And then that would be the strongest for this small screw. Nevertheless, it's going to work great. Stick your back on there. Let's remove this. Move this back with just a little snap right along the front. Boom. We'll stick our back on there. And we're ready to go. Magnet hip clip. So like I say, extra piece of hip clip. You got like about a $13, $14 super magnet. Where you keep it in your truck, you know, you want to, if you have a padded piece of steel inside your work truck, or like if you're in a van, it's so nice because you just put it up against the wall. The thin metal doesn't grab too much and you can pull it straight off, it's fine. But a slight layer would help if maybe there's a plastic covered piece of steel. Other than that, there you go, magnet hip clip. And so right after this is just a quick sped up film of me making one more with that slightly different method. And then I just want to show you guys real quick the, what do you call this stuff? Shrink wrap, heat shrink in that 3/4. It's perfect. For this magnet, it fits right over it. And then what you would do is screw it in. You can find the holes real easily through it. Screw it in, cut it accordingly right at the end, and start heat shrinking it, and it's going to tighten up on it, give you that extra layer. Just wanted to show you guys how to do that. So here's this high-speed video of me making another one. Ta-da! There you go. That one worked better, guys. I pre-drilled that hole and put it in there nice, and that one is nice and solid. Yay!